Holy shit, we are doing a live again. And I probably shouldn't be cursing if we're going to be talking about church today. Right now, I think I lost all of my viewers that were checking in. I know normally I go live or I premiere at 8:30, but instead we're running a little bit behind, but that's okay because it's all for a bigger purpose. Trying to go back live on YouTube again. I'm excited about this. Hopefully you guys are excited about this. It's spooky season, and yeah, it is Taco Tuesday. So without further ado, let's get into tonight's episode. Oh shit, my intro. It's your girl G, the Puerto Rican podcast princess, your favorite baby mama in the building. Be easy on me. I haven't gone live in a while. And yeah, let's get this party started. All right, you guys. So again, it is Taco Tuesday, and we are here. We're going to be talking about Bishop Winans. Hopefully, I'm saying his name correctly. It's a viral clip. I think it went viral like literally maybe like 24 hours ago, but it has to do with church. It has to do with religion, and I don't want to get too religious on this topic, but it is something that I'm interested in, and I wanted to get into it. Like I said, this is more about church culture, money pressure, and I kind of want to get into the angle of why so many people have turned away from the church in the first place. And this is definitely one of those moments that pops up and you're like, yeah, that's the reason why I haven't walked into a church. It's definitely something that is a conversation that we need to have for sure. So hopefully you guys are interested in this as well. Before we get into the clip, I want to get into what tithing is, because that is what term they use when it comes to giving donations to the church. I did a lot of research on this because I didn't want to say anything incorrect, especially when it comes to this. A lot of people are sensitive if you say anything incorrect. So with that being said, so what tithing is, right? It is giving 10% of the income to the church. Now, this is based on Old Testament law, and it is supported by priests, and it's supposed to help support the church in general, the temple, the building, the priests themselves, and then community outreach is what the intention is. Now, normally they give like the standard tithes on Sundays, but recently churches are holding special tithing events, which I believe is what this viral clip was from. It doesn't seem like, from all the research that I did on this preacher and his church, it doesn't seem like this is a every Sunday occurrence or every Sunday ask from his members of his church. However, it is something that they seem to do pretty frequently, and we'll get into some of the accounts on that here shortly as well. But this is, again, something that is creating awkwardness in the church. I would think that there's like this social pressure of how much you're going to give. And you'll see all the reasons. We'll kind of pick apart all the things that kind of bother me about this clip and figure out, if this is something that we should be supporting or not. So brief summary of the clip in general is this preacher was asking for $2,000. Now, I believe it was like a $1,000 initial donation from the member, and then they were asked to ask family, ask friends, ask other people for additional money on top of that. And I believe the goal was a minimum of $2,000, but of course they were going to accept whatever the people brought in. So that's always an interesting take from it. I know before we roll the clip, a lot of people were like, you need to put it into context. So instead of just sharing the one snippet that has gone viral, I am going to be sharing the clip where it gives more context. But even with the context, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I like it. I feel like it almost makes it worse. So I want to get into that and see what you guys think as well. If you are watching, be sure to tap into the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't joined the fam yet, what are you waiting for? So let's go ahead and get into this clip of what everyone is talking about lately. Let's go ahead and switch. All right, y'all.
This a couple of ways. We're going to do this a couple of ways. Those that have the 1,000 plus 1, that means you're coming with your 1,000 that you're giving, plus you've asked someone else to give. Now you don't have to stop at 1,000, and we're going to deal. So in other words, if you say, Pastor Winans, I'm coming with my 1,000 plus another 3,000, then you'll say that. You understand? And if you didn't get the plus 1, but you maybe came with $250, you're going to come say that this is my 1,000 plus 250. You with me? And we're going to go all the way down. So I need you, in order for this to work, I need you to come when you're called with the offering that you're bringing.
I, Roberta McCoy, given faith and stand in unity with the vision of...
Before we get into the actual portion that has gone viral, so we can clearly hear him saying, you bring 1,000, and you're going to hear throughout the clips that I shared tonight, them saying, I am sowing, like, this is my seed. I'm sowing this seed of X amount of money. So he's wanting them personally, as members of the church, to bring in $1,000. Hi, Jess. How are you? How are you? Thank you for tapping in. Thank you for commenting. I'm working on getting a soundboard. Okay, I'm solo now, so I'm working on it. But welcome in. Okay, so you're gonna hear him say a lot of the times, like them saying, "I'm sowing a seed of whatever their donation is," and then they're adding on top of that what they could get from, I'm assuming, friends, family, anybody else who isn't a member. So he is asking, to be clear, for his members to bring in their own individual donation as well as additional money on top of that for their church. Now, it's unclear exactly what it is for, if it's for a building fund, if this is for like an anniversary thing, and we'll get into that in a little bit as well. But just food for thought. When you hear them talking about how much they're donating, that's what they mean when they say they're sowing a seed. So let me back it up a little bit and get back into the clip.
That you're bringing.
I, Roberta McCoy, given faith and...
Oh, my bad. Another thing to note, he did say in order. So if we run it back, he was saying whoever has that 1,000 plus at a minimum of 1,000, you come up first. And anyone who he mentions like $4.25, we'll get to you later. You can just get out of line right now. He only wants the big spenders right now. So keep that in mind.
And in unity with the vision of perfecting church of sowing this seed of $1,000 plus $235 and receiving the blessings to come to all that participated.
Now that's only $1,200.
Yes.
Y'all not listening to what I'm saying. If you have 1,000 plus 1,000.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna work on the other 800.
Well, that ain't what I asked you to do. We're gonna do this.
So, couple things. And if you want me to run it back or anything like that, I definitely can. Couple things that stand out to me. Number one, it is the announcing of the amount that they are going to be donating. So that feels very performative to me. That feels disingenuous. I haven't been to church in quite some time. So I haven't, tithed in quite some time. That being said, one thing that I've always maintained and known, that it was improper practice for people to be announcing how much they are giving to the church. So my question for you guys who are viewers, drop it in the comments. Let me know how you would feel about announcing how much you're offering to the church. Would that make you uncomfortable? Is this something that you would want to participate in, or would you kind of gracefully bow out? Because that would be something that I would hear and see and be like, yeah, no, not for me. It feels too performative. It feels less for God and more for, the eyes and opinions of other people. Another thing was the fact that she brought up her son or her grandson or whatever relation to that. So not only are we announcing how much money we're giving in public, but we're also turning around and we're shaming the person. Now, I understand that he asked for those who had 1,000 plus 1,000 first, and technically she didn't listen to instructions. But this woman came in and she gave $1,250. I feel like it could have been handled differently. At the end of the day, a donation or a tithe is a tithe, and for him to correct her in front of the entire congregation just feels, I don't know, it just feels icky. It feels disingenuous. It doesn't feel like he has the energy of gratitude that you would think that he would have for someone who just dropped $1,200 plus for the church. As he asked, she gave her part and got some on top of that. Now, before we get into other clips, again, something that people were talking about was, well, how did he react with other people's donations, which we're going to get into in just a moment. I'm going to pull up those clips for you as well. Yes, Jess, definitely. It is supposed to be anonymous. That's why I'm like, I don't really understand that. And it feels performative. From what I've researched on this specific church and from other churches that kind of get a lot of flack for things like this. I think it was, who was it? Marvin? Is his name Marvin? It's something Saps. I could find that as well. I think I have it. Marvin Sapp. This is what that reminds me of. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and pull that up right now just because it goes into it and it brings it back up because this was a viral clip that had happened as well. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out this clip of Marvin Sapp literally holding people hostage until he got $40K.
That is involved, and they understand the cost that is involved. There's 1,000 of you. I said close them doors. Ushers, close the doors. Close.
First of all, what are y'all doing if they ask for donations and then before he even announces how much he needs you to give, he says to the ushers, close the doors. Y'all not leaving till you give me my money.
And they understand the cost that is involved. There's 1,000 of you. I said close them doors. Ushers, close the doors. Close the doors. Close the doors. It's 1,000 that's watching online.
The fact that he had to repeat it so many times tells you right then and there that even the ushers were like, wait, you serious? Are you sure? You sure you want me to do this? Which is crazy.
This is a small seed. If I get 1,000 online to give this, if I get 1,000 in the sanctuary to give this, that's $40,000 tonight. Now, everyone up here, we've all sold and seeded, but I need everyone standing up here with us, with me, to plant a seed of $100. Because again, it costs to sit up here. And this is what I need you to do. If you're giving electronically, or even if you're giving tangibly, I'm going to have y'all come to the altar and give it because I need to see 1,000 people moving. Bring them baskets. I want the baskets up here. I want to see the folk. Y'all start moving. Y'all can bring it right now. Come. 1,000 people need to give $20. 1,000 people need to give $20. 1,000 people online need to give $20. This is easy, saints. And they understand the cost.
It's the audacity for me. Just Wanatika said, I used to attend the Catholic Church and take classes of Catholicism for my first communion. It's when I realized it was more of a business. They would ask my madrina for fees of this and that. Yeah, definitely. And I understand that churches are nonprofits, and I understand that, you have to get some sort of income some way, somehow, in order to be able to give back. But one thing that I've noticed is that a lot of these churches that are asking for these large donations, we see these preachers, these pastors with, one of the comments says it, Rolex just a glistening. Someone else said it's called an offering, not a ransom. So it's like, you seem very put together, but a lot of the members of the congregation don't mirror that same look of wealth, that standard of living. And it is difficult to find moments where they're giving back to their own members of the church. Yes, they do community outreach. They do donating to other things. That's a tax write-off as well. But are they giving back to the members that they are requiring these donations from? And a lot of times you're not really seeing that. So that's interesting to me. Jess said, wow, the nerve. Is this an auction? That's what it feels like. Someone else said it's a holy heist. That being said, I do want to go back to the original video that we were talking about to kind of put into context how he was acting with other people's donations, because again, everybody keeps talking about, no, you have to know the full context. You have to understand. He was asking for people to line up from largest donation to least donation. But does no one else find that problematic? If I'm looking at the full context, I'm more confused. I'm more upset. And all I can think is the same thing that just Wanachika said, like, the nerve of you. Like, what are we doing here? Is this for God, or is this for you? So someone posted this on TikTok as well, and they put it with the caption of pay attention to the response, because that means a lot. Let me know if the volume is too low on this, and then I will bump it up. But yeah, pay attention to this.
To the response.
$1.50 plus $1.60 and another 5 cents with Dorian K. Bell and the Murphy Bell family.
Okay. Let's go back, just in case you didn't hear.
Pay attention to the response.
$1.50 plus $1.60 and another 5 cents with Dorian K. Bell and the Murphy Bell family.
Okay, so the congregation is clapping. I think she gave a total of less than $5. The congregation is clapping. They're cheering for her. They are accepting of her donation, no matter how small. But the pastor in question is silent. You see, like a simple head nod, and then he keeps it pushing. Now, pay attention to his responses to the next congregation member.
I, Dorothy Harvey, give in faith and stand in unity with the vision of perfecting church and sowing this seed of $500.
$500.
And receiving a blessing to come.
Come on and give God praise.
I, Kimberly Riggin, give in faith and standing in unity with the vision of perfecting church, of sowing the seed of $1,000 and receiving the blessings to come.
Amen. I just thought about her father. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. I, Kimberly and Stephen Reed, give in faith and stand in unity with the vision of perfecting church, of sowing this seed of $1,000 plus $500 and receiving the blessings to come.
Amen.
Pay attention to the response.
Okay, so that puts into perspective for you yet again, like what exactly are we doing here? This woman is giving potentially all that she has. And you know, people talk about it all the time, even outside of church. Like, if I'm giving you all that I have, if I only had $50 in my bank account and I spent the $50 on you versus someone else coming and spending $1,000, but they have $10 million, who is more genuine? Who loves you more? That type of rhetoric, that type of conversation. And you see it happening here within the church. And that's extremely discouraging, because how do you know what my 10% is? And that, again, I want to kind of get into that as well, because that is based off of the Old Testament. This is a different time. This is a different world that we're living in the United States of America. We are struggling when it comes to our finances. So when you look at it, how much they're charging us for rent, how much everything costs in this world, to then turn around and demand and feel like you know what my 10% is. Like, what? I just don't feel like that's operating in good faith, and especially in an arena like that, as a church, which is supposed to be accepting, non-judgmental, etc., and so on. We hear all the things of what church is supposed to be, and then we see examples like this, and it leaves a lot of people being like, yep, and that's the reason I'm never going back to church. And it's a sad thing to see, because I don't think all churches are negative. I don't think that religion is technically negative. But you have to be able to pay attention to the signs. And I'm also really interested in the mindset of everybody else in that congregation, that they're willing to accept this and still be members of that church. And you see that commentary throughout these video clips that are being shared of like, why does he still have supporters? Who would follow him as a preacher? And that is a question that I had as well. So we're going to get into some facts about this pastor. Y'all, I came prepared tonight. All right. So who is Pastor Marvin L. Winans? All right. And if you guys have any commentary, like I said, any thoughts on this, anything you want me to look up, bring up, anything like that, definitely drop it in the comments. I appreciate y'all. And if you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe and join the fam. Okay. So he is from Detroit, Michigan. All right. He is a member of the Winans family, one of the gospel music's most influential dynasties. Now, I don't know too much about gospel music, but I did find this interesting. So he co-founded the Winans with his brothers, and the group was discovered in the early 1980s. So being in the music industry, but the gospel music industry, definitely gives him a different... potentially gives him a different mindset when it comes to money and the type of lifestyle he wants to have, because they were pretty well off. They were a pretty famous family, and they were doing well. So one of his most notable events was him delivering Whitney Houston's eulogy in 2012. And then, yeah, so after he got done with his music career, which he still is involved in the gospel music community, he decides to go and found this church, which is called Perfecting Church, which I find interesting as well. And apparently it's grown to 4,500 plus members at its height. Not really sure what its member count is now, but I believe when I was looking at the reports, it's anywhere from like 3,000 to 4,000 on average for him. So when we look at that, I also want to look at some facts on the church itself, because for a church to be asking for a minimum donation of $1,000, it makes you wonder, what is this church doing? And it is a mega church, so there are a lot of members, and they're involved in a lot of things. So they would argue that they need that money for community outreach and whatnot. But let's take a look at some of the facts on the church itself. All right. So the church itself was founded in 1989. It expanded rapidly throughout the 90s and the 2000s, and it is one of Detroit's largest Black congregations. It is known for outreach, education, and housing initiatives, often spotlighted as a model megachurch, which I find interesting seeing the clips here. And they did start expanding, and they started construction on their church campus, a multi-million-dollar facility that is still apparently incomplete decades later. So there's a lot of questions about where these donations are going. And this even went into a lawsuit from the city to the church. Now, they have since settled the lawsuit, but they had a lot of questions of, you guys aren't giving us the plans, the building plans. You're not giving us the budget plans that you would need, apparently are required. I don't know too much about that, but apparently that's a requirement. And at first they were saying, hey, you know, we've already spent a lot of money. I think I have somewhere in my notes here how much money they said that they apparently spent on that construction, but yet it's still unfinished. And at first they were saying that they were basically coming up with the money themselves through their congregation, and then they switched to, no, we got a loan. something fishy is going on here. And again, if I'm a member of that church, I'm going to be asking questions. Now, one of the reasons they said they weren't able to finish all of the construction yet was largely due to the recession in 2008, according to them. But it seems like you're racking up quite a bit of money. Now, I was unable to find the clip again, but I know in this particular day where all these clips are coming from, there was donations, 20,000, 50,000, plus all the other thousands of dollars that people donated and then some. So it's very, it just makes you wonder where are all of these things going? Where is the money going to? And I want to talk about just the idea of what these churches are requiring. When you see that, close the doors or else, when you see things like, I'm going to shame you in front of your child or your nephew or your grandson or whoever that was to her and the entire congregation because you didn't listen to instructions, it makes you wonder how they're treating other people, members that we don't see viral clips of, things that aren't caught on camera. And in my research, I was able to find that there was a particular lawsuit that caught my interest. One of their housekeepers, I don't believe that I have any details on that I can pull up on screen, but I do have the notes here. So they had a housekeeper. She was employed from 2012 to 2017. Her annual salary was $18,000. Okay, $18,000. And they were essentially requiring her to pay her 10% of her $18,000 yearly salary. Now, we know that is absolute chump change. Who can survive off of that? So when she basically refused, because they were saying, hey, we're looking at our records, we're seeing how much you're tithing, you are an employee of this church, a member of this church, and we're noticing that you're not giving your 10%. And what's up with that? And so along with unpaid overtime, according to the lawsuit that she ended up winning, by the way, they told her that, you know what, we can just dock your pay. Don't even worry about it. We'll just dock your pay. We'll take it out of your paycheck for your tithe to give back to the church. And when she refused, they fired her. There's a saying, and I want to be very careful. I want to be very careful when I say this because I don't like generalizations. I don't. But when you see things like this, you understand why there are sayings like there's no love, like Christian hate. You get what I'm saying? To expect someone to allow you to take out of their paycheck the 10%, knowing that you're barely giving them enough to survive, is absolute insanity. And that doesn't feel like understanding. That doesn't feel like compassion, empathy, any of the things that you would think would be coming from a church. And then when you hear how much money that they're making and that this is a mega church and the amount of donations, you would think that this money would be going right back into the pockets of the workers, right? Because let's just go ahead and take a look. This is a typical megachurch budget breakdown. About 35% of those donations would be going to staff salaries. All right, about, what does that say? 10%. Oh my gosh, I need my glasses. About 10% is outreach and programs. 25% building projects / debt. Facility upkeep and utilities, about 20%. And I guess that says 10%, or does that say 20%? Administrative and other. But staff salaries, 35%. That's going to be the largest contribution. And yet all they could afford when they're asking for $2,000, all they can afford was to give her $18,000 a year. and then ask for that money back in the process. Absolute insanity. And when you look at that compared to the average household income in Detroit, that gives you even more questions, because that's going to be a steep ask for anybody who is in that community, in that city in general. So again, you guys know I like research. You know, I like to add in facts there. I don't want to just solely put opinion out. But yeah, again, I am curious. I see that you guys are watching. I so appreciate you. I'm curious, what are y'all's thoughts about churches like this, mega churches in general, people or pastors requiring that 10% and being, for lack of a better word, aggressive about it? What do we feel about that? Now, I did go and try to find any other accounts of events like this to see how frequently this specific church, this preacher was asking for those large donations. And I couldn't find any credible documents about that, where he's asking all the time for such large donations. But there were a couple posts on Reddit and different things like that. So I am going to get into that with you, just so you guys can kind of see and put into perspective the reputation that this church has. So on Reddit, someone wrote that, and we'll say it's allegedly because we don't know, right? But they said, I once had to work their 8-day long 20th anniversary event. Every day, it's 8-day long. Every day they all showed up, service begins, guests take an offering. So they're asking for an offering, they're requiring an offering each day of that 8-day long 20th anniversary event. And by the end of the week, it was $10,000 that they were begging for from the congregation. So that would suggest that there's heavy fundraising during special events and things like that. Another person commented and said, I remember years ago going with family and their offering was like, line up if you're giving $1,000, then $700 givers, $500 givers, etc. So this method of line up and announce and tell everybody and show everybody what it is that you're donating seems to be a preferred method of this church, and one that I think a lot of other churches practice as well. Although, again, you're not supposed to be doing that. It is supposed to be anonymous. This is supposed to be between you and God. And I think that is the biggest thing. I want people to believe whatever it is that they want to believe in. I want people to feel good about their religious, their spiritual practices and things like that. But the last thing that I want to see, regardless of who or what you believe in, is people taken advantage of. And my concern here is that you have these people in power under a mask of a place of solace, a place of reprieve, and someone who's supposed to be helping you, and you have them demeaning you, degrading you, and requesting things of you that could ultimately affect your quality of life in a negative way. And so many people are being sheeps. And I could go on and on for days about why I feel like that's incorrect and wrong. But again, I don't want to get too religious or too much on my soapbox. But I do know that we're supposed to be leaders when it comes to these things. We're supposed to be assisting one another. And this entire story, the clip, whether he gets severely reprimanded for it or not, I mean, it's his church, his followers. This isn't the first time he's done something like this. So do I think he's going to get negatively impacted that much? Probably not. They'll probably do some PR work. I haven't seen him make a statement yet. I've only seen other people, especially of the congregation, trying to defend him and saying, hey, you took it out of context. He was willing to accept everything. And again, I want you to go back to that clip that I shared of the woman who was able to donate less than $5 and see what his reaction was there. I really, really, really want all of you, especially if you're going to a place like this, to just be mindful, open your eyes. And I've said this before, whether it's church or someone that you see online like myself, educating yourself is going to be the best thing that you can do. if you are going to church and you are following, pouring into the word, reading your Bible, understanding what you're actually being asked of or what you should be being asked for in these settings, in these churches, is going to be your best asset. That's going to help you fine tune your discernment about whether or not this is someone who is operating for your highest good or someone who is operating to tear you down and to take from you. And that's really what I want to leave you guys with, unless there's anyone that has any comments, has any questions about anything in regards to this topic. I so appreciate you guys for coming in. I was really nervous to go live again, but I'm happy that I did it. But yeah, I really want you guys to educate yourselves and understand fully what you're getting into and the people that you're taking advice from and the people that you're following. We cannot have so many sheep. I need you all to be shepherds for yourself. Okay, there is a difference between community and just flocking together and just following blindly. And I want better for you guys, and I want you guys to want better for yourself. So that being said, that is all I have for tonight. Don't forget to Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm so excited to be doing lives again. And shout out to everybody who thought I couldn't run the cameras live, because baby, I did it. Besos and blessings. Have a good night.